If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
All right. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are on this planet. Welcome to the Counter-Racist Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. And if you would like to join the conversation or even have a question for Mr. Fuller, you can do so by dialing 516-453-9921. And when you do that, make sure that you hit the number 1 button, and you will go immediately to the top, and you will be the next caller in line. So make sure that you do that. Otherwise, you can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, Bobby, at gmail.com, and at some point, your email will be read. Now, I cannot say or promise you, I don't make promises anyway, but it may not be read on this particular program, but at some point, it will be read, and I will Gmail you back the date and the time, whether it's in the first hour or second hour of the program, so that you can hear your question. But call in at 516-453-9921, and we can go from there. Make sure you hit the number 1 button. Okay, as usual, let me start off by saying good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Okay, Mr. Fuller, let me start off with a Gmail here from Zachary. He says this: greetings, Mr. Fuller. My question pertains to the belief in a creator. If there is a creator that is responsible for creating all versions of humankind, be it those classified as white and non-white, is it also reasonable to say that the Creator gave those who are white supremacists the intellect to be smarter than all other people on this planet? Maybe the white supremacists are supposed to be in charge because, as of yet, no one has been able to defeat them. All we non-whites have are ideas with no power to actually stop the white supremacist. Thank you for taking my question.
That's possible. It could be. I don't think most ministers or people of what you might call religious cloth will declare that they know what all of the motives of the creator of the universe and all of the everything that we consider to be a universe, or a number of universes out there, and what every molecule is supposed to be doing, what every person is supposed to be doing, every creature is supposed to be doing. I don't think anyone would think that they have the credible answer to that, will declare to do so if they're really serious. So it could be that that is the assignment of the white people of the planet, to dominate and rule people and abuse them if they see fit to do so here on planet Earth, or people of color. People of non-color, people classified as white, may be by the Creator assigned to do that. Some say that they are assigned to do it. They just say it outright. There's one person I heard about back in the 50s or 60s, early 60s, I think, who the people said that this person was a Klansman, and he said, we don't need to stop arguing about this race thing and just be serious about it and accept it for what it is, because we do have races of people, different species of people. And he said, and you have people called white people, and God made white people to serve God and made black people to serve white people. And if everybody just shut up and leave it alone, everything will work just fine. And when you work it that way, everything does turn out to be just fine, according to this person who made that statement. I thought about the statement at the time it was made, and it sounded reasonable. Being honest and whatnot, it could be that way. It could be that way. But then I say, but I don't think the Creator would create people to tell lies when most religious scholars say that the truth matters. And so the white supremacists are very deceitful. They say things that are not true. They use disguises. They'll do things that shouldn't be done and pretend that these are things that should be done. So would people like that be put in charge of anything? I mean, and acting like that by a creator? Does the creator get fun out of those kind of games? People deviating from the truth? Those are the questions I ask. So I said, I don't know if that is what might be in a creator's mind at all. And I have doubts about it. And so I stuck to those doubts, which I stick to this day, which is why I wrote the books. Because if I accepted that premise, and I try to be serious and look at all sides of every argument, because someone may be telling the truth. So you look at all sides, you consider all sides, people who are totally against you, people who hate you. You look at yourself and you look at them, you say, maybe they have a cause to hate me. Maybe they should hate me. It might be that way. And they're supposed to express that hate, that they were born to express it. And I was born to be abused. That could be. I look at it that way, just that way. It could be. See, I don't know. And many things I don't know, but I'm willing to find out what the truth is, regardless of whose feelings it hurts. And I think everybody should be that way.
Okay.
Go by how everybody feels about it. So that's my answer. I don't think that they were assigned to do what they're doing. I really don't.
All righty. Let's do this. Let's go to Mary. Hey, Mary, let me see, get you up here. Okay, Mary, you are on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Wait a minute. There you go. Good morning, Mary, and what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Just to follow up on the religious question. So he said that he's not really sure about why we were created. Is that right?
No, I don't know why we were created or why anything was created, because I don't know why the Creator would decide to create what we are looking at. I don't know the reasons. The Creator could have very easily just created snails and have all of the planets populated by snails. The Creator is the Creator, or the Creator. Some people say there are a lot of Creators, not just one. There's the snail Creator. There's the people Creator. There's a Creator for everything that you see, and it's a different one. Some religions say that. So you have many, many religions. And I was looking at a television program just the other night, which I've seen programs like that down through the years, and people of different religions have different beliefs about what the Creator's intentions are, and most of these people, of all of the major religions, have spent a lot of time killing each other about what the Creator intended and didn't intend, and who should go along with it, and who had better go along with it, and who shouldn't go along with it, and all this type of thing. And all down the history of the people of the planet Earth, there's been all kinds of wars. People called, there were people called crusaders. I mean, people who would fight for the cross and chop people's heads off if you didn't believe in what they called their brand of Christianity. There were people who did things like that. There are people who do things like that now. Of all religions, just go around just slaughtering people, killing babies, throwing them up in the air and let them hit the ground and say, I'm doing this because this is God's will. All right? So everybody is saying this, And so you come down to one question. Who do you believe? I mean, all you see is babies going up in the air and hitting the pavement or cobblestones or whatever they fall on, and you see people killing people. You see heads being chopped off. You see people being shot. You see airplanes in there dropping bombs on people in the name of a quote-unquote religion of some type or another, of different religions, not just one, but major religions, periodically. So I look at this, and that's why I have the religion that I have. And that religion, the main thing in the religion that I have, I call it eclectic pluralism. I used to call myself a Christian, but then I didn't know what a Christian is supposed to be doing because I was hearing different arguments from different people who said that they were Christians. I said, now, you're all Christians, but you've got different types of churches with different types of names. And they say, well, those people down the road don't know what they're talking about. They got the Bible all wrong. I got it right. I'm the only one that's got it right. The rest of them don't know what they're talking about. And they're all going to burn in hell. Now, I heard one minister absolutely say that, talking about the church across the street. He said, all those people over there don't know what they're doing. So they call themselves Christians. They don't know what Christianity is. And they're all going to burn in hell, according to my religion, over here, right across the street from them. They're over there singing and clapping their hands. They're walking right into hell, every last one of them, and that's where they should be. Now, that was his position. And I'm saying all of these people say that they are right. Everybody is right. Nobody is wrong. All right? And so what do I, say? So I say I'm trying to find out the truth. So I listen to all of them. But I say I'm trying to find the true religion, even at this late date in my existence. Where is the true religion? Because everybody says they got it down pat, and the rest of the people don't know what they're talking about. Everybody says that with a religious label. And I say what we have here is confusion if we tell the truth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mary, did you have a other question here?
Just to follow up on that, the universal man and universal woman concept, that sounds kind of religious to me. Because, why do you think there should be this one universal man and one universal woman?
Because I think that there's a correct way to do everything. See, a universal man and a universal woman would be people who have found out what is the best thing to do about every situation that comes up. What is the very best thing? Because there are all kinds of choices to make every day, every minute of the day. To be a universal man and a universal woman, you're usually faced with problems because all people are faced with problems. Right now, the people of the planet are faced with a huge problem called this virus, all right? So what is the very best thing to do during this time? How should people interact with each other? What is the best thing to do about the virus itself? And what people should get priority help, or should everybody get the same help at the same time? And how do you sort it all out and do the very best thing whenever there are problems to be confronted, and there are problems to be confronted every minute of the day by the people of what we call the planet Earth? We are faced with problems. Problems are put here to be solved. So universal man and universal woman would be problem solvers. They would always think, speak, and act to do the best possible thing that a person is designed to do about all areas of activity. Economics, everything in economics, without fail, no mistakes. That's universal man, universal woman. In education, no mistakes, always the very best thing. Have a code for the very best thing that can be done in the field of education. In the field of entertainment, what's the best form of entertainment that can ever be conceived by anybody on any planet, anytime, and go for it? Say, we're only going to have this type of entertainment. Why? Because it's the best form of entertainment. It produces the best results. Do you have anything in this entertainment field that's poisonous, that's going to make people do things that they should not do? See, these questions should be asked and answered. Universal man and universal woman would be people who always seek the best and come up with the best answers for every possible question that can be raised. Now, no one has achieved that, but that should be the aim of every person on the planet, according to what? Neely Fuller? No, according to logic. Why not? Why not make that the criteria? And then the rest of the areas of activity: labor, law, politics, religion, sex, for sure, and war. If there's war, meaning conflict of any kind, what's the best way to resolve a conflict? The very best way not only for now, but for all time that will be coming, millions of years in the future. You will look over all the different ways that people have conflict and pick out the best ways that that conflict was resolved. Very best, can't get no better. That would be universal man, universal woman. In my opinion, everybody should be trying to be just that. Why? Because we're in the universe, that's why. Mm-hmm. And we should be completely in tune with everything that's the best in the universe.
All righty. Okay, Mary, did that take care of your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Mary. And again, don't be a stranger. Okay, again, you are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I would like to say exclusively here on at ProduceJustice.com, but that's where you go to get all the latest information and books and all kind of interesting things, book sales and all that. That's at ProduceJustice.com, and you can hear even past shows that we have. Someone, I believe her name was Dorothy, wanted to know something about a past show. I think that was this one, but anyway, they're all there. I have we have some people working on that, affectionately called Brother Moon Pie, LG. He makes sure that we are doing good, and of course his brother RG is making sure that we stay straight. And trust me, Mr. Fuller and myself greatly appreciate that. Okay, 516-453-9921 is the number that you can call to get in contact with the show, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Thanks for those who are listening, as I can see that we're picking up listeners, and that's good. Okay, Mr. Fuller, let's see here. We're 11 minutes out from our break. Afroastrology's is saying this. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. Let's see. Hope you're well. These things too small to pass. Could you answer this one, please, sir, Mr. Fuller? Blacks have basically been beaten by white supremacists worldwide. Why then do they keep their feet on our necks and keep the oppression nonstop when we are already down on the ground? Why waste time and effort unless they are terrified that one day we will wake back up, get up off the ground, and kick their asses?
Well, that could be. I wouldn't use that kind of language to talk about it. If the white people of the planet who believe in racism believe that the non-white people will rise up against them, and there are a number of books that say that this would happen, and that they would slaughter them and do all kinds of vile things and make the world worse than it ever was, and that's what they fear, and many of them say that. Well, that remains to be seen, but I don't believe that's necessarily true. We would have to show for sure, I would think, that the non-white people, me included, would have, first of all, the correct intentions. Everybody on the planet should have the correct intentions about everything, 24/7. Never, not for 5 minutes, have the incorrect intentions in any area of activity. So people could be, and maybe should be, suspicious of each other, but that's why we need codes. And the code should say everybody should do the very best thing, the most constructive thing in every area of activity, every minute of every day, no exceptions. And, and not make it personal, or not make it on the basis of color or any other standard, except what is the best thing for creatures of any kind to be doing at any given moment on this wonderful planet that we have been given to do the things that can be done. So lots of things that can be done on this planet that can't be done on other, you might say, heavenly bodies from all the reports. There are a lot of places that don't have air. And air is something people are gasping for right now during this coronavirus. See, air. You got to have air. People are trying to breathe. And you're trying to get machines to help people keep breathing. Because when they stop breathing, everything dies. Plants die.
Yes.
The oceans die when you don't have air. So this is a very unique planet just on that one item alone. And people who have gone up into the space and look back on planet Earth, they say, when you look at all the other heavenly bodies that they can see around here in this neighborhood, you might say, planetary neighborhood, that Earth is a very, very, very unique place. It stands out. It looks like a blue marble. And none of the other planets even resembled it. None of the other planetary bodies, you might say, universals. All right? So this is a unique place with unique creatures on it. And some of the creatures are unique. It seems like the ones that are most outstanding are creatures called people. So we should do the very best with what we have here. We're here. We're all here. White people, black people, people of all different heights and shapes, and people of different ages. They come and they go. They stay here for a period of time, and then they leave. They don't stay here forever, the same person, but they reproduce other people. Now, why all of this is here? Well, everybody's been arguing about that, like I said at the beginning of the program, since the beginning of people. This argument has been going on. But we should try to make it the best that it possibly can be. And no one should have any argument against that. What do we mean by the best? We mean, for one thing, have harmony. Not be clawing and scratching at each other when you don't have to. We really don't have to. People can get along. That's been shown. We have seen demonstrations of that. People can work together in harmony, complete harmony, instead of going around worshiping guns and swords and looking for an excuse to start a fight and even generating fights for sport. Being combative. All of that should be done away with. All of this nonsense about combat is a glorious thing. Stop saying that. Stop building that up, putting that in people's minds.
Okay. All righty. We're about 4 minutes, or 3 minutes outside of break. Let me do this. Let me check the board here. People are listening, Mr. Fuller. Okay, let me do this. This is from Jaquari. We're probably going to go into break, but I'm going to read it anyway, and then we can also take your answers as you do it on the other side of the break. It says, Mr. Fuller, is it logical for black people to practice traditional gender roles or to embrace the white man's feminism? Feminism has resulted in destructive results for our community because the white man pretends that it benefits females financially when in reality the real strategy is to emasculate males and destroy the family.
Well, to the extent that a white supremacist has anything to do with it, and this is in the textbook for victims of racism I've written, the view that I have is that, first of all, I'm not sure of what people mean by feminism, and that's why I say we need a code. Code is all about how do you build a code? You build a code by asking questions and getting the correct answer to the question. The correct answer. There's a correct answer for every question. So everybody should always seek the correct answer to every question. So, first of all, when someone comes up with a word, and that's why you can go to Produce Justice and get a word guide, because the white supremacists have invented language in such a way that it just supports white supremacy. So you have to kind of tweak words and give some words new definitions.
Okay.
Like this happens anyway. So when they say feminism, the first procedure is whomever's using a word, you ask, what is feminism? And you want detailed explanations that you can easily understand. Detailed explanations of exactly what feminism is and what feminism is not and what feminism, quote, unquote, is supposed to achieve. Now, that's the first order of business. So if someone asks me about feminism like it's being asked now, the code tells me, well, what is it?
Okay, hold it right there, Mr.
What is it? Because I don't know what that means.
Okay, hold it right there.
Even after all these years.
Yeah, hold it right there. We're going to go to break, and then we're going to come back with an answer for that so you can continue with that. You are listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show, CRCS, with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. And all this is on ProduceJustice.com. In about 15 minutes, Mr. Fuller will explain more about ProduceJustice.com, in that you can get his publications and books and any other materials that you would desire to have in your quest to learn about the code. You can call this number here, 516-453-9921, to ask Mr. Fuller a question or give VGQ. And if you don't know what that means, I'm quite sure that during this program that will be explained to you. Or you can do this. You can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY @gmail.com, and I will effort to get your Gmail read. But if I don't, it will be read at some time. By the way, when you call that number, which is 516-453-9921, be sure to hit or press the number 1 button, and you will go to the top of the line. And be sure you give the screeners your name. Please, ma'am, please, sir. Give them your name so I can go right to you, and then we'll have Mr. Fuller answer your request. Could you do that for me? And don't be a stranger. Okay. A question was asked, and Mr. Fuller asked about what is feminism. Now, the person that wrote that is not here, but I can give you this definition that's in the dictionary. It says this, Mr. Fuller: feminism, the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes.
That is the definition given in a dictionary.
That is a definition given in a dictionary.
Well, I would probably have to sit down and methodically, in a codified manner, write down every possible question I could possibly come up with about that definition. Why? Because that definition taken just like that is too broad, and it's confusing to me. Because what's the first thing that definition said? So you have to look at every word in a definition, and you might dwell on that word for 50 days.
Okay, the first word was advocacy of women's rights on the basis...
Advocacy of women's rights.
On the basis of the equality of the sexes.
On the basis of equality of the sexes.
That's exactly what it says.
That, to me, is a very, very broad definition that could call for a discussion that could probably last 5 or 6 years. Just that definition alone. I'm not talking about going into details. I'm talking about just that definition. You could probably talk for 2 years about that definition itself. Advocacy. What do you mean by that? Women's rights. Equality. That's a deadly word, or it can be a very constructive word. Depending on what context you're to. Equality by doing what?
Okay.
So here in the textbook, there are 4 questions that you can ask anyone about any situation. And they are the wants, which I have talked about on this program.
Yes.
Right. And those 4 wants, those 4 questions will fit any situation anywhere. Among
page
people
171.
Anywhere on the planet. Yes, page 171. Making sure. Wait a minute. I've called. Yes, that's 171 and 172. And the other is, and you ask these 4 questions in any situation. If you're talking about women's rights or something like that, you can go right to these 4 questions if you want to really get, what you call right to the point as best you possibly can in the fastest possible manner without a lot of confusion. So all problems are solved, I might say,
through the process,
according to the code, through the process of questions and answers.
Yes.
So
okay.
You say, so you ask the question, what do you want? Now, I'm paraphrasing now from page 171
in
the textbook for victims of racism, because the actual question is, what is it that I want? But if I'm talking to another person, I should find out what the other person wants.
Yeah, what do you want?
What I want. Yes, what do you want to do? See, everything comes down to doing something. So if you're talking about feminism, you say, okay, what do you want to do as a feminist? Whatever you want to call yourself. What do you want to do? Next question. Why do you want to do it? and sit back and listen. Don't interfere with the person's answer and argue about the person's answer. Listen. That's the codified procedure.
Yes,
Next
sir.
question. How do you plan to do what you want to do? Because if a person wants to do something, they might have a plan in mind, or they may not have a plan in mind, and they can answer that question. They say, well, I want to do it, but I don't have a plan for it, but I intend to come up with one, or I'm asking someone to come up with one for me based on what I intend to do. Okay? Now we're getting somewhere. And then the last question, the clincher question, is what do you expect the constructive result to be of you doing what you want?
Okay.
And that's a question can be asked of everybody on the planet. These 4 questions, any minute, any time, any day of any person. It will fit. If you don't believe it, you can try it. That's the codified procedure.
Okay,
right.
Now, with that being said, then what about what Jacori asked? He says feminism has resulted in destructive results for our community because the white man pretends that it benefits females financially when it in reality the real strategy is to emasculate males and destroy families. Now, with what you just said previously, how does that relate to his question? Is his question ignored? Because I understand the code, or we understand the code, those of us are listening, but how is Jacari's question being answered?
Oh,
and he followed a procedure. He wants to know what's going on, or is it a ploy to emasculate a black man?
To the extent that the white supremacist has anything to do with it, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Because everything that the white supremacists have something to do with is designed to weaken non-white people, designed to keep them in confusion, designed to be destructive. Not anything of constructive value. Anything that they come up with on a massive scale is designed to be harmful, not helpful. Harmful. Because that's the intent. That's how they think.
Okay.
They enjoy that.
Yes, they do. Okay, let's do this. Let's see. Joshua, I believe that's what it is, or Joshua. I'm on my screen here. Let me see if I can get you up here. Okay, you have a question from Mr. Joshua. Okay, Joshua. What is your question for Mr. Fuller? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. Well, good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller.
Good
Mr.
morning.
Fuller, hi. This is Josh Yates. I'm familiar with your work. I've spoken with you before. I want to thank you for saving the world, Mr. Fuller, because if there was a way to save it, I think you're doing what could be done, and you answer such big questions when people are calling, because people are trying to save their lives, and you've helped me save my own life. And so toward my question today, because I've been watching a lot of documentaries on technology and the way of the future and China and algorithms and so on and so forth. Now, 10 years ago, China was not as built up as they are today. They have so much innovation. There's all this facial recognition going on and so on and so forth. And as I listen and research your work, I think, where does this all fit into the system of white supremacy as they've taken over the world and so on and so forth? Apparently right now China is becoming this major superpower of their own, not tied or dictated by anyone. And so I guess my first question is, when you're referring to the code, how do you think of documentaries and broadcasts like that when you hear of a non-white country becoming something more than white supremacy, or does that make sense? That's my first question.
Yes, it makes sense. All questions, and there's no such thing as an invalid question or a question that shouldn't be asked. You can ask anything, the fact that a question exists which you're just presenting a question now, means there is a correct answer to that question, because there's an answer to every question in the universe. That's just universal law. There is an answer to every question. Otherwise, the question couldn't exist. That's the premise. So you're asking that question about China. And my answer is, I don't know how that's going to play out, but the Chinese are considered by the white supremacists, according to what they have said, considered to be non-white people. So any non-white person is supposed to be subject to the dictates of the white supremacists. So if it looks like people who are called Chinese, non-white people, are trying to get out from under that dictatorship, which is what it is, it remains to be seen how that's going to play out, whether or not they're going to be used as a buffer, to use the gangster terms, like in Godfather, they were talking about the Corleones. They had lots of buffers between themselves and the people that they were doing harm to, so that they wouldn't be accused of doing it. So it could be that what the white supremacists have, they say, what are we going to do? With all of their technology and their newfound power, quote unquote, we're going to steer it in the direction of having them help us to harm other non-white people, like the black people classified as black of sub-Sahara Africa, for example. We'll steer them in that direction to start with, and they will be our sub-partners. They will be our buffers. And for anything that goes wrong, we're going to blame it on them, all right? And anything that goes right, we'll take credit for it. Now, that could be the white supremacist plan, because they do this type of stuff, and it's the type of stuff you could expect. See, they'll make deals with other non-white people as long as those other non-white people are going to do harm to other non-white people, and indirectly to themselves ultimately, because that's how the white supremacists use power. They get prisoners of war to fight each other, okay? And they sit back and watch the fun. That's their technique. And I think, to the extent that they have anything to do with it, the white supremacist mind is heading in that direction. They are looking at it and say, oh, yes, we'll let them build up and build up and build up, but they will actually be working indirectly for us, ultimately. And they will be working for us if they are setting themselves up to do harm to other people of color. And then there will be our sub-partners. It won't be our equal partners, but we'll be steering them into the direction of making them think that they are equal partners, but they will not be equal to us. They will be our sub-partners, and they will be our buffer. And what do we mean by buffer? It means that anything that goes wrong, we white supremacists can sit back and say, it's the fault of the Chinese. And anything that goes right, we'll take credit for it. That's white supremacy.
You answered that so well. Yes, and I could have imagined some of your answers that I refer back to the book, but thank you. And just a segue, and this is my second and last question. I'm sure you have other callers. As we talk about technology and we're moving into finance, as I've been researching documentaries and finding out about the New World Order and all of the secret societies and so forth around finance, it seems that the whole world in some way, or in every way, as you talk about, values the degradation of black people. That's or non-white people. That's the foundation of it. That's the base. I just heard a non-white person, a white man on Wall Street, say that he dreams of another recession, Mr. Fuller. He can't wait. It's not his job, it's not his interest, it's not his problem what the created debt or the money monopoly, any of that does to anyone. It just brings, as I talk about technology and finance, it just brings it back to this animalistic level of, I'm going to have more than you. You know, it seems like for all of the complex everything, it just goes back to this base animal, and we can go through numbers and sequences and so on and so forth. So technology to finance toward this infinite debt, and how money is just created out of debt, and how nobody really understands that, you know, you can't fight against anything if you don't understand it. Do you think that we can predict where this will end up? Because there are, when I say this, just the world in terms of overall destruction and doomsday. I listen to some scientists say one thing, and I listen to other financiers say another thing, and they say, you know, capitalism is the way. And then other people are looking at them like, do you really believe that? How can you believe that? And then other psychologists say they really believe that. So to your ultimate belief, do you think that this financial bubble, everything that people are going through, will come to a head and world destruction? How will this? It just seems like it's just so many layers, and there's no, you know, and I know you say produce justice and so on and so forth, but when you're dealing with people that are dreaming of another recession just so they can get another dollar, and this is not the person at the top of it, this is just a worker. He's a elite worker, I guess, because he's on Wall Street, but you know, this growing mentality, and nobody knows anything else, whether it be the degradation of non-white people or taxes or this constant war. Where do you think it will all come to a head? What do you think about when you think about that ultimate scheme in 50 years or 100 years or even 10 years, Mr. Fuller?
Well, and you said quite a lot there, but basically it's just one thing. And it's in the slogan, you might say, of this program, producejustice.com. All right, that's it. Produce justice. Justice meaning what? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. That's number one. And number two, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. And so some person on Wall Street saying this and saying that, or any person anywhere on the planet doing this and doing that, there's only one criteria. Are you helping people who need help the most? And are you doing harm to anybody in the process? Those are the questions. Just two.
You always talk about how the system glorifies people who, and maybe this is a segue from that, or any person that is thinking about doing something that's not so just or not so moral as they have to take care of themselves. They've made it, Mr. Fuller. You talk about how the system has made everyone glorify violence and mistreatment, you know, by movies or media or just sheer shock value, whatever it is, and you know. So, you know, when I have that on my back, should I just do nothing if I can't? Yeah.
Codification is you just keep it real simple. After they go through all of that saying, you know, well, I work at Wall Street and I'm trying, my ambition is, it comes down to those wants again. What do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? How do I plan to do it? And what do I expect the constructive results to be? That's something you can ask that person who made that statement about what they are doing and what their plans are on Wall Street and how the economy is going and all like that. You just ask them those four questions because these are wants. This person is talking about what they want to do. So what do you want to do, sir? Why do you want to do it? How do you plan to do it? So on Wall Street, you make big plans, for sure, okay, from what I've heard. Okay, but then you go to the fourth question. What do you expect the constructive result to be? And wait for the answer. Don't, you know, when you ask those four questions, don't break into the answer. Let the person thoroughly clearly. Answer the question. And if you don't understand the answers, just ask for a better understanding, to expression of what you're asking. Stick with what you're asking. Stay in the question lane, because the answers will take everybody right where they need to be, not where everybody wants to be.
Okay. I gotta cut it there because I gotta go to break. Thank you, Josh, and do not be a stranger.
Thank you
okay.
All. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
All right, thank you. It's 10 minutes before the hour. Let's see here. I am going to get to you in just wait a minute. Wait a minute. It was on the board. Oh, okay. Tabitha, I'm going to get to you not at this moment because I have to give Mr. Fuller an opportunity to speak about his book. We're 5 minutes over, but let him speak about his book, then we'll get to you. Mr. Fuller, it's book time. Go ahead with it, sir.
Just go to producejustice.com, and what will come up on the screen is the titles of the books, and you'll see them there. The Compensatory Counter-Racist Code, you'll see the original copy there, 1984. That goes back to when I first started. And then the 2016 edition, which also takes in most of the things that are in the original book. Sometimes people want the original book, sometimes they want them both. And then there's an addition to the 2016 copy that you might say they're the same book. It's an addition to the basic book, the 2016 edition, that is a word guide showing you how to use words. And everything in these volumes is directed to the individual person, because I have been saying for years what we need is a code for the individual person, that we speak broadly when we speak of black people and black people's problems. And we'll say that black people, we should organize and do this and we do that, and there's no harm in that. Any effort that you make to replace the system of racism with the system of justice is legit, okay, as long as you're doing it in a correct manner, in a manner that the way that it should be done, in a just manner, a correct manner. And the book is supposed to help the individual to do that, not the so-called masses, because the masses are made up of individuals. The concept is, if you solve the problem of each individual black person, you solve the problems of all black people. And how you best do that? By a code that I claim, and I could be in error about this, but I believe if we have a code, which is the missing link, we've never had a code. The white supremacists have a code. Every white supremacist has the white code. Otherwise, they could not function as white supremacists. That's why they are so efficient, even when it's just one of them appearing among non-white people. They're very efficient, as a rule, in what they do because of the white code. See, they have white skin, but that within itself is just skin. I mean, and they look a certain way, blonde hair, brunette, whatever you might call it. But when they function among non-white people, it's almost like magic. Just a few of them can appear among millions of non-white people and just move here and move there and do this and do that. And the next thing you know, if they are white supremacists, they are running everything. And they're not even talking to each other while they're doing it, because they have a code, a white code. They don't deviate from the code because they're successful, the most successful operation among people ever invented. White supremacy is what it's called. Now, non-white people do not have a counter-racist code, all right? And that's the missing link. We just blunder here and blunder there and so-called organize here and scream and yell and fall down in the floor kicking and screaming and, and yelling and cursing and whatnot. That's not a code for getting anything done. I mean, it's a lot of drama, and it does get some things done. But a precision code about what to do and what not to do each and every minute of each and every day, that's what is needed. Because the white supremacists have that code, and they don't break it. They don't break it for a very convenient reason. It works, because all codes work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be codes. But black people have even attempted to have one. We just think screaming and yelling will do it. Or, arguing with each other will do it. If we win an argument with each other, that will solve everything. No, it won't. You have to have do's and don'ts, because that's all the code is. What you do, what you don't do. You can go to producejustice.com, and these books that I have written have suggestions in them about how we can achieve what we're trying to achieve with the code. That's the theory.
Okay. All righty, that's good. Okay, let me go to the phone lines, and let me see if I can get this in here. Okay, Tabitha, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning. I'm calling in reference to vaccinations. So just thinking about the Shawshank Redemption mindset, do we non-black people really have a choice with taking vaccines? Because my thing is, if we take them, okay. If we don't, the white supremacists could easily put out another virus. So I just wanted Mr. Fuller's insight on that.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, about vaccination.
She came in broken up on this end, but what was the question?
Okay, wait a minute. Tabitha, could you ask that question again?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
So basically,
okay, go ahead.
we're just thinking about the Shawshank Redemption mindset. We're in a prison system. So with that in mind, with vaccinations, do we non-black people really have a choice with taking vaccines? Because my thought is, if we don't take it, the white supremacists could easily put out another virus. And if we do, then we just do. So do we really have a choice with that Shawshank Redemption mindset that we're in prison?
Oh, as prisoners of war, we just shuffle along with whatever's going on when it comes to things like diseases and whatnot. We don't have a choice. If they say that take the vaccine, and if you don't, you'll die, they may be telling the truth. And so I can't say whether we should or shouldn't. That's where the individual codification comes in. If you're suspicious about it, really are, then you act accordingly. And if you're not suspicious about it, or if you think that, yes, it will help you to not have the virus, then you act according to that, because there's no way to know. There's no way for non-white people. We are completely vulnerable to anything that has to do with death. The white supremacists can kill all non-white people almost by snapping their finger. The only reason we're here is because of just two factors. And one is, theoretically, and this is just a concept based on logic, the Creator wants us here, and or the white supremacists want us here. Otherwise, if it was up to the white supremacists and they wanted to kill us, they got a million ways to do that, if not tens of millions. And we have no defense against death in the system of white supremacy. None.
Static.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Fuller. I'm sorry.
Somebody was saying something.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just trying to get that static out of there, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah, the static is still there.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, go ahead, though. Oh, okay, yeah. Tabitha, hang on, because we are up against the clock, so don't go away, Tabitha. Okay, you have been listening to the first hour of the Counter Racist Code Show, CRCS, with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and me as your co-host, Mr. Bobby. So thank you for listening, those of you who have to go, but there is a second hour, and we want you to stay tuned for that. To get in contact with the show, and hopefully we can get some of these shopping worked out, 516-453-9921. is the number that you can call, and be sure to press the number 1 button after you complete your dialing, and that way you will go to the top of the line. Make sure you give the producers your name so that I can call you out and make sure that I get to you. If you choose not to do that, but still want to have a question or comment, you can hit me up at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY @gmail.com. And if I have time, according to how the program is flowing, how Mr. Fuller is answering the questions and so forth, then we will. I'll make sure that I read it. Now, if I do not read it this day, it will be read at some point, so you don't have to worry about that. That's what I do, and then you will be notified also when I do read your Gmail, so that you can go back and hear it either the first hour or the second hour. And I might ask, please, ma'am, please, sir, when you do call in and you want to talk to Mr. Fuller, please keep in mind that there are a lot of people that want to speak with Mr. Fuller and have him address their questions. So I'm going to ask you to show a little courtesy and not to, if you will, dominate the conversation over and over and over. With that, I know you're anxious to have questions answered and so forth, but think of your brother or sister that they may also have a question that they need or Mr. Fuller's advice. So please be conscious of that. Again, you are listening to the Counter Racist Coach Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and me, Mr. Bobby, as your co-host. 516-453-9921 is the number to get in contact with the show. Okay, Tabitha, go ahead, please.
Oh, that was my only question.
Okay. You did mention something about the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, just with that prisoner mindset, that's a great analogy that I live by, and it just connects the dots for me. So I just hear a lot about the vaccine, so many vaccines, and should you do it or shouldn't you do it? And my whole mindset is you really don't have a choice. You're in prison. You have really no rights. So
yes, ma'am.
I'm just trying to try to get an idea of Mr. Fuller's thinking behind that, because I do have an offspring, so I'm just trying to get his mindset.
So much for your question, and please do not be a stranger. Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, we've got to work on that problem here because it is very distracting. I'd like to hear Mr. Fuller's answer also. Okay, hopefully we can get it worked out. Let's go here to David. David, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please. Wait a minute. There you go.
Good morning,
you go. David. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Good morning,
trying to
speak slowly because we're getting a lot of static here.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah. I think my technicians are working on it. I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah.
What about now?
Okay, go ahead, David. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, I was calling in because I wanted to ask Mr. Neely Fuller about something I had ran across. A friend of mine had told me about this eugenics process that I believe is being pushed by the world government. So my question was, if eugenics is what they are calling as almost like a filter to push people that they deem as not good for the planet, and then keep war, drug warfare, biological warfare, the homosexual agenda, what makes these people who saying that these people are good and these people are bad for the world, and these people should die, these people should live, what makes them feel like they are in tune with the Creator, if you understand what I'm saying?
If I understand the question, what makes the white supremacists think that they are in tune with the Creator?
Yes, due to the eugenics movement, by saying who's good for the world, who should die, and who's best for the world, meaning pretty much the white supremacists feel like they are best for the world? What makes them feel like they are in tune with the Creator?
I don't know. I just know that that's what they say. I just go by what they say that they believe. The white supremacists say they believe that they are assigned to be white supremacists, meaning people who are in position to harm non-white people and dictate to them, and that they should. And they should make them into a joke. You know, right from the womb, take them unto themselves, and have them to be something that you can kick around, make jokes about, hundreds of jokes, do anything you want to with them. On account of what? On account of their color. That's their assignment. Their color gives them that assignment. Their assignment to be used and abused. For what? For the three things that all creatures want: fun, glory, and material comfort. And the white supremacists get fun, they get glory, and they get material comfort out of dominating and mistreating people of color. That, according to them, is their assignment. And that people like myself, a person of color, are assigned to be dominated and mistreated. And that's the way they look at it. So that the white supremacists can have fun and glory and material comfort.
Excuse me. Somebody has a phone or something, and we're getting feedback on here. Whoever that is, could you please put that on
mute? I'm hearing bells
mute?
and whistles and a little of everything, seems like.
Yes, I'm hearing that. Whoever that is, can you put that on mute? Because it makes it very difficult to hear Mr. Fuller's answers. Please, ma'am, please, sir, whoever that is. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Well, I think that I may have completed that answer. I may not have, but if I did, the person can say so, and if I didn't, the person can say so. That's the way this works.
Mm-hmm. Well, looking at this,
what makes the white supremacists do what they do, I don't know, except they say that they are assigned to do it, that's their assignment, and they're just carrying out their assignment by whatever created the universe. They repeatedly say that. And they say that I am made, that creatures like myself are made to be abused. That's my assignment. And if I just shut up about it and take my assignment, I guess I'll get my reward, like many religious scholars say, in some other place at some other time, for taking this abuse. That I am assigned to take abuse. My color assigned me to take abuse. I don't believe that. I believe that's propaganda.
Okay. Following the code, in particular, to define eugenics, which is the study of how to arrange reproduction within a human population to increase occurrences of heritable characteristics regarded as desirable, what would make white people think that they have a patent on reproducing people? That's dangerous.
Right.
Oh, in answer to that question, I don't know.
What would make them think that they are that superior, that were they with God when God or the Creator created everything and assigned them, well, this is going to be your job to separate people to make people more desirable?
I don't know what motivates people to do what they do. That's any people. I just know that that's the way it is. According to what? Evidence. And this is what they say when they are willing to tell the truth about it. They say these things. And they say this is their assignment and that the Creator assigned them to do it. Everything that they are doing. This thing that they have now sexual sabotage of non-white people throughout the planet, which they should never be forgiven for. That's one of the worst things that can happen. All right? But they are glorifying this. And it's nothing but this blatant sexual sabotage. That's what it is. They're sabotaging the non-white people of this planet as best they possibly can in everything way that they possibly can, causing complete confusion in sexuality among the non-white people of the planet. And that is a very, very, very insidious and destructive thing that they are doing. And they, you can forgive them for a whole lot of other things, maybe. But for that, they should never be forgiven for that. That should cause bitterness in anybody's thoughts. And they're blatantly doing it. And non-white people, it looks like they were trained like lambs to the slaughter to go right along with it. However, considering the condition of black people's minds, we are very easily influenced to buy into anything that is different.
Okay.
All it has to be is just different.
I just got a notice that our technicians are working on the static issue. They just informed me of that. David, I'm sorry. Did you have a follow-up question on that?
Well, yes. I wanted to kind of hit on the point that I heard a young man speaking about Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci, the Surgeon General, and how they said that they funded money for the pandemic, or should I say the COVID-19, to be morphed into something more dangerous through China. So I like it. When I try to listen as closely as possible, when I talk to Neely Fuller, when I read stuff, when I hear stuff, and it seems like all roads, like Neely Fuller says, Neely Fuller Jr. said, all roads always lead right back to white supremacy, and it just baffles me on how, like, the Creator, in a sense, or some people don't even believe in that, would let this go on so long. Like, we non-white people have been in such a place to where we've been in servitude, we've been mistreated, we've been killed for fun and glory and material comfort, like Neely Fuller just said, and I don't understand. And it's almost like we deal with it because they are our teachers. The white supremacists are our teachers, and they have taught us to kind of be like, you'll be okay. And we always looking for tomorrow instead of doing something today, and that's all I wanted to say.
Brother David, I'm going to let you go, and don't be a stranger, but I'm going to tell you this. What you just said, you're on to something real deep. You're on to something real deep, and it can be verified, what you just said. Yeah. Thank you, my brother. Don't be a stranger, all right?
While keeping prices the same. And my question is, because, philosophically, the government comes before anything else. So the government will always, we can print out as much money as we want, and it's possible. So my question is, would you be willing to take my number down and then maybe help me showcase my philosophy to other people, because I'm an intellectual. I'm the most well-connected in the history of the planet, and I don't mind running for president of the United States, and I'm going to run for president as a writer.
That was so broken up. The static is killing this part of the
the technicians are working on that, Mr.
It is extremely serious, and I'm not getting these questions straight at all. We have to have clarity. We have to have focus. That's what I grade myself on in trying to make the presentation. So in order to compensate, though, because this is wartime conditions, maybe someone can paraphrase what the question was. You might have to come up with a way of asking these questions in a very, just 5 or 6 words. I don't know how we can do that.
Okay.
I can paraphrase.
Go ahead,
you mind
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marcus.
I'm the most well-connected person in the history would you mind having one of the people that you work with take my number down so that we can help solve this issue, which is, in my opinion, I know that it's a money issue. Would you mind? So again, to paraphrase even further in 5 or 6 words, can I give you my telephone number, please, sir?
Give who your telephone number? The listeners?
Someone in your camp. Someone in your camp.
Someone in what? I am just an individual. I don't have an organization or anything like that. So you can just put I guess, you can ask Mr. Bobby. I mean, he's running the show. If it's okay with him for you to present your number for people to call you and get information, that's permissible. You can just do that right now.
Did you say you were running for president, Marcus?
As a write-in.
If you wanted to give out your telephone number for someone to consult you on whatever it is you think will help to produce justice, that's what this program is all about.
Okay,
There's
sure.
no problem there.
Okay, my number is 619-535-1645. And before I let you go, let me just say, Dr. Fuller, that if everyone gets $1 trillion, then you have to consider that what will happen to the billionaires, Bill Gates. Their money won't be as valuable. So the purpose of this is to
wait a minute, what's your number again? 619
535-1645. And let me say it again. It's like if you have a dog and you feed the dog 1 spoonful. It may barely survive, but that's how they're controlling everybody, because there's no way that they should give everyone more than enough, $1 billion, and then that will dilute the money of the power owners, and that's not what they want. That's the way the system is set up. Thank you so much.
Okay. All righty. Thank you very much, Dave. Sorry about the static. Our technicians are, Mark, excuse me. They are working on that. Let's see here. Mary, I've got it is too long to read. I can't do that. If you could condense it, I could possibly read that for you. It sounds like it might really be something, especially references to information on YouTube, but I can't do that the way that it is. So if you could tighten it up, then I could read it, or you could call in and do it. Yeah, since you are there, unless you're in a place where you can't do it. But yeah, do that there. Okay, let's see here. I had somebody up. Oh, okay, yeah, here it is. Okay. Okay, Sylvia? Sylvia? Okay, wait a minute. I didn't see her. Let me see here. Oh, okay, there we go. Sylvia, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please, Sylvia. Sylvia?
Yes, I don't have a question. I'm just listening, just learning.
Oh, okay. It just came up on my screen that you're on. Okay, you're just listening. Okay. All right. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let me put you back here. Okay. All righty. Mr. Fuller, this comes from Malesla G.
Well, whether it's people or animals or creatures, sure. You defend yourself as best you possibly can against aggression. Even if you lose, that's a duty. You're put here to do things, presumably correct things, to correct things that need correcting. Put here, in 2 words, to solve problems. And if anyone tries to kill you or do physical harm to you or any type of harm to you while you are trying to produce justice and correctness in the correct manner, you have a duty to defend yourself as best you possibly can, even though defending yourself against the white supremacist aggression, if you're a non-white person in the system of white supremacy, it's going to be just about doomed to failure because they can do harm to you of all kinds. The system of white supremacy, you are already in captivity. And the masters of that prison system, you're a prisoner of war, are masters of the prison system. And masters of a prison system where they have prisoners in that system can do anything that they want to do with those prisoners. That's the nature of a prison camp. And for black people on planet Earth, you are in a prison camp called planet Earth under the system of white supremacy. Therefore, vulnerable to everything that the white supremacists wish to put upon you. But you can, in your prison cell, defend yourself from being further harmed, because you're already being harmed, as best you can, knowing full well that you will be defeated under these conditions, that you will not be able to successfully survive unless the creator of you intervenes completely at the mercy, and it is the mercy of the white supremacists if you're a black person on this planet, completely at their mercy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me do this here. This comes from Alpha the First. This is from the Gmails, if I haven't overlooked anybody. It says, hello, Mr. Fuller. Recently, Mr. Fuller, a White House assistant / aide made a comment, and I'm paraphrasing, quote, COVID-19 protesters are just like Rosa Parks, end of quote. Mr. Fuller, I do not see the similarity between gun-waving COVID-19 protesters and sitting on a bus, Rosa Parks, Jim Crow segregation protest. Yet, the worst part about this statement is the constant, and he capitalizes, arguing by black people. Some say the COVID-19 protesters are the same as Rosa Parks, while other black people say it isn't or is not. 249, the second question covers arguing. The code says non-white people should never argue. Can you explain this suggestion? Okay, let me turn to page 249. Okay. Okay, do you have that yet, Mr. Fuller?
No, but if you have it there in front of you, you can tell me.
Okay, wait a minute. He says page 249, second question. Okay. Oh, okay. Second question says, when is it correct to argue with non-white people about racism and or counter-racism? You see it right there?
No, I'm not looking at it right now. That's 249.
Okay. He said, the book says, you wrote, never present your opinion and do so in a quiet, orderly, courteous manner. Ask them to present their who disagrees with you. deliberately refuse to argue with non-white people about matters of race, racism, and or counter-racism, instead of arguing endlessly with non-white people about what to do and what not to do about racism. Speak against the lack of correct speech and action by those white people who are best able to end racism, but who have not done so. That's what you wrote.
Yes, that's it. And if the person who is calling goes to that page, if they have that's the answer. That's what you don't argue with non-white people about anything, particularly about race. No black person should argue with another black person about anything dealing with race. Just say the word, the codified response is, when I am asked about something that Reverend so-and-so, a black person said, or Professor so-and-so, or just homeboy, and what he said about the race issue. Even if he says, yeah, I heard that guy Neely Fuller, and he's talking all that garbage, he don't know what's really happening out here. He's old and over the hill and whatnot. I mean, ain't none of that stuff that he says true, and et cetera, et cetera. Someone might say that, and some people have said that. Mm-hmm. And your response is supposed to be not get in an argument and start taking sides. You just say, like I would say when someone says that about me. I say, well, he said what he said. And everyone is supposed to look at what he said and evaluate it and come to their own conclusion. But no arguments. I'm not, according to the code, I'm not permitted to argue with any non-white person about race, racism, or counter-racism, or what somebody said and should be done and shouldn't be done, and what their opinion is. I just say, he said what he said, or she said what she said, in case it's a female, or that's it. Nothing else. Listen
Got to do
it.
a break here, station break here. Sorry about that, Mr. Fuller. Listen, you are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and yours truly, Mr. Bobby. I'm the co-host. To get in contact with the show, dial 516-453-9921 and push or press the number 1 button, and you will go to the top of the line, and Mr. Fuller will address your questions. We do apologize for the static that we are currently dealing with. The technicians are working to resolve the issue, so you're coming across breaking up, but that's not your fault. It's not Mr. Fuller's fault, and it's not my fault, but they're working to resolve the issue. I have my ideas. Maybe the usual suspects are at it again, but we'll see. Anyway, they're working to resolve the issue. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com, and I will effort to read your Gmail. But if I do not on this program, your Gmail will be read. Okay, let me check the board. Thank you for those that are listening. Okay, Mary is back. Okay, let me see, Mary, if I can get you queued up here. Okay, Mary, you are back. What is your second question?
Last week I asked about whether it was correct or not to deprive someone of their means of sustenance or their job or financial support. That was on 69, and the answer was no, it's not okay to do that, even if there are white supremacists abusing you. And then today you said that you should defend yourself if you are being abused. So that I'm a little confused. Okay,
Mr. Fuller?
I could not hear any of that in a way that I could comprehend what is being said. The static is absolutely awful.
I know it is. It
I
is.
hope that
Mary,
what I'm hearing is not what everybody in the audience is hearing, because
even as you speak to me, Mr. Fuller, is broken up. I can hear pieces of it, but I can't hear all of it, and I don't know why.
Well, if you can relay part of the question or something.
Okay, I'll do my best. Okay, last week. Okay, Mary, I'm gonna give it to him in pieces now. What did you say so I can make sure he hears it? What did you say now?
Last. You said what? Should I what?
You said what now?
Okay, so page 69.
Okay, I'm on page 69. Okay.
Last week I asked about whether it was incorrect or not to deprive a racist suspect on the job that is abusing non-white people and dividing and conquering.
Mary. Wait a minute, hold it, Mary.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, on page 69, she was saying that she asked last week, was it incorrect to deprive a suspected white supremacist to deny them, what was that, Mary? To equal treatment?
Deny
them financial support because they are abusing you. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, they're abusing non-white people, and you said it was incorrect to deprive non-white people.
That you said it was incorrect to deprive them of that. Okay, and what else, Mary?
So then today he said that if someone is abusing you, if a white supremacist is abusing you, you should defend yourself.
Okay, today you said if somebody is a white supremacist is abusing you, you should defend yourself, and so now she's confused.
Well, I'm still. So much is being said there. Or maybe I'm not picking it up, but I'm looking at page 69, and it says at the top, starting with page 68, really, every person in the known universe should, at all times, be constructively productive and have a constructive income. That constructive income should be of the quantity and quality that will help each person do those things that will help most in producing justice and correctness. Now, if the question is, does this include white people? The answer is yes. Person in the known universe should at all times be constructively productive and have a constructive income. Now, having said that, there was a lot to say it after that, but that's the basis for that paragraph. Every person. So if a white person is out of a job and they can't do things that are constructive and start doing things that are non-constructive, according to the code, according to logic, you're a non-white person, you should help that person to get a job. Why not? Because it's constructive to do so. Things being done that shouldn't be done by anybody. And you will always speak up in support of things that should be done by anybody. We're trying to become, or should be trying to become, universal man, universal woman, where everything that everybody does produces a constructive result. That is the ultimate goal. Even after racism no longer exists, that should be the goal of every person in the known universe. Constructive, not constructive. Be constructive in all things that you do. That's it.
Go ahead, Mary.
Okay. if I'm a prisoner, how can I help the warden?
Hello?
If I'm a prisoner, how can I, or why should I help the prison guard or the warden? I'm a prisoner.
As the prison guard?
Yeah, why should I help them?
You ask the prison guard as best you can to help you to get out of the prison if you have been unjustly put in prison, like all non-white people are in the prison system of white supremacy. So you always ask anybody to help you. The guards, the prison master, anybody who passes your cell. Can you help me get out of here?
Right, I should ask. I should beg them. I'm the beggar, right? But why should I help them?
Say that again.
Why should I help them? I understand I'm the prisoner. I'm the beggar. Why should I help the prisoner, the prison guard, to get a job?
The prison, even though he's guarding you. Down through history, there are people who have been in what we call jails who have actually done just that. I understand Patrice Lumumba of the Congo back in the 1960s talked to the black guards in the prison, and the black guards let him out. They did that several times, according to some reports that I read. They called him the rubber man. They said he always bounced back. So you find that somebody decided, the white supremacists presumably, saw to it that he died so that he wouldn't keep bouncing back. The white supremacists, presumably, for being a troublemaker. But he talked to the black guards after he was there and convinced them that what they were doing by keeping him there was not correct. And why? And they listened to him. And on at least 2 occasions, let him go. Put the key in the lock and let him walk out. That must have been some talk.
They are making this white supremacist a better person. Maybe they see it the same way, talking to the prison guard, and maybe trying to change them that way. I don't know what you think about that.
The connection is so bad. I really can't hear any part of what she is saying. It's the static is
okay.
so bad.
I'll mute my line for the next person. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Call back next week and don't be a stranger. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, we're sorry about that. That is not good. Before we go to our talk about your book, Mr. Fuller, Naziel had this. He said he had 2 questions for you, Mr. Fuller, and he would like you to answer them. Number 1, the top 3 lessons learned from Casablanca, and number 2, the top 3 answers learned from The Hustler.
Oh, I couldn't name them off. I could not enumerate. That's something that I will have to do at a later date. But to name the top 3 lessons to be learned in the movie Casablanca or in the movie The Hustler, I could not name them by number. I just know that there are many, many lessons, because there are lessons in almost every scene, if I recall correctly, in both of those movies. Some more important than others, I would think. And but the numbers of lessons, I could not enumerate them at this time. At some point, maybe I will attempt to do that. But I say everyone, when looking at any movie, should look for the lesson, starting with the first scene, and say, is there a lesson in here that I can use? See, the lesson should be something you can use. Otherwise, this should be considered wasted time in looking at that movie. Every black person looking at a movie or looking at a stage play or looking at any form of entertainment should be looking for a lesson to be learned that you can actually use when that presentation is over. And the more lessons, the better. But in those movies, Casablanca and The Hustler, those are two movies that I say have lots of lessons. Look for the lessons. Am I looking at and listening to something that I can use? Because it's ultimately, according to codification, you choose the lessons that are to be learned. And the lessons should help you to do things in a more constructive manner. That's what lessons are for.
Mm-hmm.
To help you to solve problems in the most constructive manner. All lessons should be there, wherever you learn them. Not only in movies, but in everything that you see going on around you every day. There are lessons to be learned. There's no such thing as finishing school. That's a little box that the white supremacists made up to put people in. You know, you go to a certain place and you learn certain things that are said to you, and then school is over. School is the entire universe. That's why they call some buildings universities. I guess. I don't know why they gave them that name, but I think it might be some association there. But the entire universe is a university. And you're always in school because you're always in a university because you're in the universe. So you learn at all times, and you try to use what you learn.
Let's say Inyane, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Sorry about the static, but go ahead, please. You're on,
Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby.
Okay.
I just had a quick question. I want to be as concise as possible. I'm not sure if you already touched on this, especially with your last statement, but in the context of non-white people who are feeling hopeless about countering the system of racism, especially those who feel as if nothing can be done to replace the system, and trying to produce thought, speech, and action either through my own example, especially for younger non-white people. I would like to ask, does being less confused equal being less victimized? And that is
being less confused what now?
Does being less confused equal being less victimized?
The more a person is confused, the easier it is to victimize that person. According to what? According to logic. A confused person is less efficient than a person who is not confused. Not only people, but creatures. If there's two squirrels in a room, one squirrel is not confused about where the food is, where the exits are, what's the best place to sleep. That person is more educated than the person who is confused. Education just means you know what needs to be done in any situation that you're in that will produce the most constructive result for yourself or others. Definitions for education, knowing what to do and what not to do in every situation. Because when you know what to do and what not to do, that will produce the best results. You are not confused. Confusion comes from not knowing what to do and how best to do it in every situation. How to solve problems. If you know how to solve every problem that you encounter, that means you have eliminated confusion about how to solve all the problems that you have encountered. And you are not educated until you can do that. How to solve every problem that you encounter. That's what makes a person educated. That's why I said, like I said previously, you're not educated until you know how to solve all your problems or any problem that is presented to you. Education is an ongoing process. And education does what? And back to that use of the word confusion. Education is the elimination of confusion. The more you know and understand, the less confused you are. As a person, as a creature, as anybody. The less confused you are. It comes from knowing how to solve problems. Problems come from confusion. Confusion makes problems.
It is at this point, Mr. Fuller, that we're going to pause and have you speak directly about your book. By the way, anybody else, because of the problem that we are having statically, I'm going to suggest that, let's see, make sure that nobody's on the line, that you not call, because there's so many problems that we're having. It is not your fault, but Mr. Fuller cannot hear you properly, and I have to interpret, and I don't mind interpreting. It's just that I just can't hear you real well, which means Mr. Fuller may not be able to hear the question. So I'm going to ask that you can listen to the program, but until we get the problem worked out, just listen to the program, and hopefully we will have it rectified next week. But we're going to continue on with the program. Mr. Fuller, go ahead and speak to your book in the remaining moments that we have in today's episode.
Yes, you can get the books by going to producejustice.com. And hopefully the books will be more coherent than my presentation today in explaining and answering some of the questions that have been asked, because a number of the questions that have been asked today, as best I can understand them, are answered in the textbook for victims of white supremacy. And you can go to producejustice.com and get a better explanation than presumably I have presented on this program today because of the technical difficulties. And I hope that my voice came through clearly enough to most of the listeners that we got something out of it today. But for further learning about what is being said, you can go to producejustice.com, and the method for ordering the books are there, because I think that might help too. Not saying that this program is not supposed to help, but I would have to say this because the code has to have me say it. The reason we're having these difficulties because of something done or not done by the white supremacists.
Okay.
I am duty bound to say that, either directly or indirectly, because they're supposed to see to it that my voice is heard. That's their job. And if it's not heard, then they are the usual suspects that should be blamed according to what? According to the code. Because anything that goes on in the system of white supremacy that shouldn't happen is their fault. Why? Because they're in charge of all technology.
They're in charge. Okay. Yes, because we certainly weren't having these problems before, but let's see. The listeners could hear Mr. Fuller fairly well, so that answered that. It was communication between the callers that was more problematic. Okay, the technician's been working feverishly to get that, but you and I, Mr. Fuller, have been doing this for several years, and it does appear that when we get to a certain point that certain things start to happen, phone lines down or can't hear or whatever, and I've come to the conclusion that I do concur with you that the usual suspects are somewhere involved in that. But we will.
It has happened on other programs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Like I was on a program called TalkTameItRadio.com. These difficulties were encountered there too.
Yes, absolutely. And here we go again. Okay, let me get this. This might be the last email because we have about 2 minutes here. It says this. Mr. Fuller, hello, my name is Chris. It's not often that we, victims of white supremacy, give or share examples of ourselves attempting to engage in constructive activities. For example, I consider exercising a couple of times a week, cooking your own food, and encouraging my son to get a college degree. All constructive activities because they can solve money and various health problems. Mr. Fuller, would you consider my behavior as constructive? Because so far it has proven to produce a constructive result. This is from Chris from New York.
Yes, and you should be able to measure that yourself. And people seem to agree with you that the results are constructive. Then that is indeed, according to the code, constructive results. No one was harmed. Someone was helped. Helped to do what? Something of constructive value. Excellent health, eating correctly, sleeping correctly, doing things in the correct manner that will build up a person in the best manner and not tear the person down should be considered constructive. And if that is the result, that comes under the title of constructive activity. So yes, and it's not Neely Fuller's judgment, it's self-evident things that are constructive and things that are not constructive.
All right. Thank you, Brother Chris from New York. Well, Mr. Fuller, we have limped in, but we finally made it to the finish line. That is just about the end of the 2 hours. Callers and listeners, we apologize for the static, but we will fix it hopefully by next week. You have been listening to the Counter-Racist Culture with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and yours truly, Mr. Bobby. Thank you for all your calls. Thank you, Mr. Fuller, and we hope to do this again next week. Bye.
Thank you.